And I'm Stephanie Ojadi. Good morning, viewers. Hope you had a wonderful Monday night rest. On the show today, we're going to be talking about flooding, national emergency on flooding. As we all know, this is one of the phenomena happening across the world, but we're focusing on Nigeria in general because it has become something that has become so rampant, and we're talking about ways to, reduce the cases of flooding and the consequences of flooding on lives and properties. Apparently, it was said on September 29 that this year the flooding level would increase to 12.84 meters. That's quite a lot. And so far, so good. Over 100 people have died as a result of flooding, and we can't even begin to imagine how much has been lost because of this situation. Justin, what do you think about this?
The thing is that the effect of flooding in Nigeria is actually devastating, specifically what happened this year. But so far, what we hear, 12 states and 50 local government areas have been earmarked as frontline states to be affected by flooding in Nigeria. On 17 September 2018, a national disaster was declared in the war sport. We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more stories.
Well, what we are doing, as provided by the Act that established the agency, is to ensure that lives is saved, properties, the destruction of properties is also saved as much as we can. To do that is to prepare, to mitigate, and respond effectively, and possibly recovery after the whole incident has ceased. National disaster has been declared in 4 states, and 8 others are being watched because of the alarming rate. The rivers, the major rivers, Benue and Niger, are really rising. Today, the levels is 11.19, which is more than even the 2012 correspondingly. That's to say that is a very serious and threatening disaster threatening the country. Well, we gave them a situation report, explained to them how prepared we are, to explain to them the structures on ground in preparation for response if the situation continues. Yes, initial approval of 3 billion naira, up to 3 billion naira, was made by the president. So far, as the figures 2 days ago, is 101 people lost their life. About 300,000 people have been displaced, with Kogi having the highest number of 57,000. There are 4 states: Kogi, Niger, Delta, and Anambra. Kebbi, Kwara, Bayelsa, Rivers, Benue, Adamawa, and Taraba.
You should be on the watch out. You understand? Don't wait for water to come and force you out of this place. Because when water comes like that, it may not give you the chance of running. It may take the lives of some other people. You understand? So be on the watch out so that the moment you see that the water is becoming too much for you here, you relocate, you leave this place to safer upper ground.
Primary school. So how many we have 140. 140. You run up to class 1 to 6. We are only 5.
5 years do second pack finish. Then this thing, water come back again. If our house, if our room, water come back, I come break and finish.
We will mobilize our people to relocate for that old place where they sit before by 2012.
It is last week. So we wake at night. So we discover water in our compound. And we didn't know where to go and we not get anything. So we want government to come and help us. Because we didn't know what we are doing. This water destroying our things. So many things that we destroy. And we not get money, we not get anything.
And so far since August, water enter our house. All they come and they give me corn and yam. Cassava, water don't pack at the grass. The people they cry. I know how I do now. So as it come, now God will put hand where will help us with government.
Praying that you will heed to the cry, so that by next year you can have 1 or 2 houses that all of you can come and be staying. Once it's rainy season, you see danger, you move back to your main houses. That is the best thing, and we are begging you to do that. So on behalf of the federal government, I add my voice to the Benue State government and plead with you. Please, as much as possible, identify a safe community near you and move there. If you have challenges, meet the Benue State government and I'm sure they will intervene.
Hi, welcome back. It's still Galaxy today, and we're looking at the national emergency on flooding. We're going to start this conversation today from Abuja. We have the director of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in the person of Mustafa Mehanjan. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. Now, let me just start specifically. I want to find out what the status right now is. So far, what do we have on ground? Can you bring us up to speed specifically regarding how many community states have been involved and what have been the, how intense has it been so far?
Well, the level of preparation is very high. Response has gone advanced. We have the EOCs already EOC, that is Emergency Operations Center, also fully on ground. We have visited the 4 states that have been declared a national disaster with the Vice President on behalf of the President. We have seen, he has seen we had aerial view which make us more even informed of the devastating nature of the disaster, of the flood disaster. The EOCs are fully working. Those displaced or evacuated to the camps or host community are being well fed, water supply. The national EOC, we quickly bridge the gap by supplying their requirements. This operation has been going on successfully. We are all happy with it, with what is going on. That is to say, the preparation was apt, and then I must commend the federal government, without which this level of success wouldn't have been achieved.
All right, so far, you say you've been impressed with the level of successes recorded so far, but a lot of people have some concerns, they've been expressing. This is not the first time we've been hit by severe floodings in the country. We witnessed that a couple of years ago, specifically when the rivers Niger and Benue overflowed their banks. But The thing is, right now, the question would be, what are the lessons that we should have learned from that last incidences, and that we did not, take, cognizance of, and how come we have in this severity once again?
That this is a disaster that has natural consequences. It's a natural phenomenon to have flooding, which is aggravated by climate change or global warming. However, things were not fast before this administration. Actions were not properly taken before this administration. But when this administration came, steps were taken. That is why the level, the consequences was really reduced. The number of days is reduced as at yesterday, 108, if you recall. That is to say that necessary preparatory measures taken has really yielded some result. I must tell you that the level of devastation, the area covered by water this year was more than 2012 from the preliminary estimates we have on ground. So whereby it tends to catalyze the activities of the state governments. The responsibility of the state governments are being catalyzed so that we will ginger them. The federal government is putting in some level of commitments so that they can also put on their own commitment. That has been agreed in in the National Economic Council about before the decision come into full implementation, and this thing came up. So its own responsibility, we will really sit up and make sure that the necessary steps will be taken immediately after cessation of this. You could hear that on behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Vice President made a very good commitment as regard to the government intention to ensure that this disaster will not occur again as it is today. Disaster.
Those who've lost homes, properties, and large amounts of money, what happens? What's government's plan to help or reintegrate those people back into society?
Already preliminary damage assessment team are fully on ground to commence the first stage of assessment to ascertain the quantum of the damage in terms of naira and kobo. Then, having done that, of course, the government will support all those that have been affected. Initiated a process to support now. So equally, the states that are affected, 12 of them have been affected, and 4 that declaration of national disaster has been made are also in the table. And then by the time this assessment is complete, by the time we know the quantum of the damage, I assure you that the government will look into it and take necessary measures to provide the support the people may need to delegating the Director General to declare national disaster came along with also instruction, or rather directives to the Minister of Agriculture to take necessary measures to really take care of all the farmlands, all those that have lost their farmlands after the cessation of the flood disaster.
Emma was quite aware about the situation of flooding coming into the country this year. Cities and towns and states that had issue with poor drainage. Why is it that nothing was done to make sure those cities that had complications with drainage systems, why is it nothing was done so that those cities would not have to experience some of the things that they're experiencing presently?
You know, the responsibility of urban development and planning lies with the state governors. This is fully aware to us and to everybody, and that is why I mentioned earlier on in the National Council, NEMA and the Federal Ministry of Environment table a case whereby we catalyze the process of state governments to take up to their responsibility in clearing the drainages, in desilting the smaller canals, while the federal government plans to desilt the major river is on. So it's not the responsibility of the federal government to clear drainages in Federal Minister of Environment and NEMA to start the process, having initiated the process. And I assure you that this process will commence in earnest, and will ensure that the cleaning of the drainages is done as it's when due.
We hear from reports that some particular people from some communities who were told about their areas being prone to flood, where most of them refused leaving their own communities when they were told to do so. How was NEMA able to combat that?
Well, it is not as easy as that, but through diplomacy, through talking to the people, putting sense into their They were saved, a lot of them were saved, and I assure you that this is the process, and we will continue to carry out this process in convincing people to leave floodplain areas. However, the state government must step up the implementation or enforcement of all the laws, enforcement or reduce or eliminate it completely. So it's not as easy as people could think, but we are able to do it through campaigning, through sensitization, through enlightenment, and people really, at the end of it, adhere to the campaign and move out from such kind of location. We provided boats. We took
that are around riverine areas and situations where engineers sand fill some of those places just to be able to construct skyscrapers and houses and what have you. What are the long-term effects of sand filling areas that are close to riverbanks, and then you just pour sand all over it and try to, build on it? What are the long-term effects of this?
Well, like I said, the issue is the rivers are silted and need to be desilted. In the process of desilting the river, the sands that are removed from while the process of desilting is going on are really used to sand-filled areas that people could occupy. So this requires a very careful design, constructive process to ensure that
almost the end of September, and a lot of people are feeling that the rainy season will be over soon. So just when likely are we expected to see this particular issue of flooding this year, and when are this affected communities going to give a sign of relief? Because if the rains come again, we still believe that there might be a recurrence of this flooding.
I may use this opportunity to inform Nigerians the story is changing. The level of water at the confluence of River Niger and Benue is going down. As of yesterday, it was 11.05 as against 11.22 2 days ago. The volume that are flowing down the delta. So as I'm speaking to you now, we are carrying out evacuation in Rivers and Bayelsa to ensure, because the water goes down to Bayelsa and Rivers. So that is the area of we have challenges, and like I said, the structure and the preparedness carry out the necessary exercise of evacuation so that lives and properties, or rather lives, are saved. So this is what we are doing. And then subsequently, like I said, immediately after the cessation of the flooding, surely the preliminary damage assessment result will be made available to the This government is committed to taking action to reducing this perennial process of getting our people, our locations, or rather towns and villages being flooded. So with that, I believe it's going to take some time, because process the area to be covered. So this is an assurance. I assure you, you must have heard the Vice President, like I said, made assurance in this line yesterday on behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari. Assurance in this line yesterday on behalf of the President.
For all your thoughts and your inputs concerning these issues that we have raised this morning. We've been speaking with the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency and the President of Mustafa Haja. Many thanks for being a part of Galaxy today. We'll take a quick break and return with our guest here in Lagos. But just before we take that break, just remind our viewers that you can be a part of this conversation. You can send us an SMS, or you can interact with us on our social media platforms if you have a question or a comment. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us.
Well, what we are doing, as provided by the Act that established the agency, is to ensure that lives is saved, properties, the destruction of properties is also saved as much as we can. To do that is to prepare, to mitigate, and respond effectively, and possibly recovery after the whole incident has ceased. National disaster has been declared in 4 states, and 8 others are being watched because of the alarming rate. The rivers, the major rivers, Benue and Niger, are really rising. Today, the levels is 11.19, which is more than even the 2012 correspondingly. That's to say that is a very serious and threatening disaster threatening the country. Well, we gave them a situation report, explained to them how prepared we are, to explain to them the structures on ground in preparation for response if the situation continues. Yes, initial approval of 3 billion naira, up to 3 billion naira, was made by the president. So far, as the figures 2 days ago, is 101 people lost their life. About 300,000 people have been displaced, with Kogi having the highest number of 57,000. There are 4 states Kogi, Niger, Delta, and Anambra. Kebbi, Kwara, Bayelsa, Rivers, Benue, Adamawa, and Taraba.
You should be on the watch out. You understand? Don't wait for water to come and force you out of this place. Because when water comes like that, it may not give you the chance of running. It may take the lives of some other people. You understand? So be on the watch out so that the moment you see that the water is becoming too much for you here, you relocate, you leave this place to safer upper ground. Thank you.
Primary school.
So how many
we have 140.
140. You run up to
class 1 to 6. We are only 5.
4 years do water come pack finish. That this thing water come pack again. If you our house, if you our room, water come pack come break and finish.
We will mobilize our people to relocate for that old place where they sit before by 2012.
It is last week. So we wake at night. So we discover water in our compound. And we didn't know where to go and we will not get anything. So we want government to come and help us. That is because we didn't know what we are doing. This water destroying our things. So many things that we destroy. And we will not get money, we will not get anything.
And it's so far since August, that water enter our house. All they come and they give me corn and yam. Cassava water don't pack at the grass. The people they cry. I know how I do now. So as it come, now God will put hand where will help us with government.
praying that you will heed to the cry so that by next year you can have 1 or 2 houses that all of you can come and be staying. Once it's rainy season, you see danger, you move back to your main houses. That is the best thing, and we are begging you to do that. So on behalf of the federal government, I add my voice to the Benue State government and plead with you. Please, as much as possible, identify a safe community near you and move there. If you have challenges, meet the Benue State government and I'm sure they will intervene.
The state of the nation's economy leaves much to be desired. Nigerians grapple with one sort of issue to the other on a daily basis. Sometimes the arguments get heated. Tempers even flare.
There is a high level of unemployment and poverty in the land.
Military do not come and bomb villages of innocent people. His action is coming very late because
we ask the legislature to reduce their salaries. Perhaps some of them should even say by half.
On Galaxy today, we'll take a no-holds-barred approach to issues and trends. We bring prominent Nigerians from all walks of life to bear their mind and human angle stories. Join us on Galaxy today. Galaxy today, discussing issues as they trend. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Galaxy today, and we are focusing on the floods that have affected several communities in several states across Nigeria. And we have yet another guest with us right now. We have a guest here in our Lagos studio. Let's make welcome Shola Alamutu. I'm smiling because she's going to correct me very soon. She's an environmentalist and executive director, Children and the Environment. Ms. Shola, did I try again this time?
You did very well, very well.
Because I've always had issues pronouncing your surname very well. Alamutu. All right, thanks for joining us. But I really want to come down to the basics because, in your opinion, is it like we don't learn from history, or what exactly are the issues. In 2012, we had like a very devastating floods when the rivers Benue and Niger overflowed their banks. And this year, a similar occurrence is happening even worse. What have we failed to learn?
Can I say? I think human beings are creatures of habit. We're used to certain things and we are reluctant to change. Why do I say that? Apart from the things that the government should do, let's talk about us as individuals. We throw rubbish in the drainage, okay? We throw rubbish in the gutters. So the gutters where the water is supposed to be flowing are clogged up. And then, so the water stays and gets into the houses and offices and all of that and causes a lot of damage. People are told and then they just continue. Okay, so that's one. Two, people are told not to build houses on those, flood risk zones, but they do. They'll say, oh, their ancestors, lived there forever, and so they have some emotional attachment to it, and they don't want to go. And sometimes when they even leave, okay, because sometimes, if the flood is so bad, they have to be evacuated, they go back there again, rather than, settling somewhere else. So that's why I say, creatures of habit. We just want to stay where it is we're most comfortable, where we're used to, even though it might be dangerous to our health and even to our very existence. So that's what I'll say is one of the major challenges when it comes to do we learn, why do we keep on doing these things that are causing so much harm to us as human beings?
Yeah.
Okay, on the issue of flooding, it seems to be becoming something of excess. How do you feel global warming has affected, the situation of flooding? Because these days it's become so rampant everywhere you go. Once it rains for such a very long period of time, and then everywhere becomes all messed up and everything. Places that you wouldn't even categorize as flood-prone areas have become flood-prone areas.
Yes, global warming, and climate change are basically very similar. The climate is changing, whether anybody likes it or not. The climate is changing. The places that are hot are getting hotter, and the places that are cold are getting colder. And what's happening is that the sun, for example, is being able to penetrate more because of the ozone layer that is being eroded. And so the ice glaciers are melting. And, when they melt, they don't just melt in that area. They flow to other areas, okay? And so we might say that, but that's not in Nigeria. But we have just one world, one earth. And everything somehow the other affects, the other. I tell people, for example, the water, okay, or the river or the ocean. I say there's just one Atlantic Ocean. It's not like the Atlantic Ocean in Nigeria is different from the Atlantic Ocean anywhere else. It's the same one. So if, for example, I'm talking about throwing things away, there, you throw whatever it is there, it's going to go somewhere else. It's going to go to another country. It's going to go to another state. It's just going to, so whatever it is we do here, in terms of how the global warming is affecting us, when it is we do not care about ourselves, about our environment, and we burn things, for example, and it all goes up into the atmosphere and it affects the ozone layer more, we are going to continue to suffer, because the more the heat, the rays come in, and the hotter, like I said, all those cold, icy areas are, the more the ice is going to be melted and it's going to come to areas that are flood prone already, which is why I say that as human beings we really need to learn to maybe be less emotional about certain things, like staying where it is that's flood prone.
But speaking of staying in places that are flood prone, online lately a lot of people seem to be building houses even around the water. I don't know how risky that is and what your thoughts are concerning that, because those places are not flood prone, but those places are actually the river beds themselves. Because, for instance, take the project that is ongoing in
Lagos, the Atlantic City.
Atlantic City and all that. I know we're trying to fight back nature and everything. Don't you see nature fighting back at us over the years?
There's something that's, there's a saying that water will always find its level. And I believe that, I want to stay at Eco Atlantic City. I really want to stay in that kind of area. The drainage, they're pulling water away. They're pulling sand away. And they're diverting it, Somewhere along the line, it's going to fight out, like you said. I used to live in Picho Island when I was younger. And I remember that even though we lived on, I don't know if you know Bishop Oluwa Lake, basically the street just before Armando Belowe. Yeah. And to get to the beach, we would walk and walk and walk. Walk and walk, and walk and walk and walk before we get to the beach. Okay? Several years ago, decades ago, when the beach basically overflowed. It actually, beach got to us at Bishop Oluwole and destroyed a lot of things. This is how many years ago? 20 odd years ago. Okay? And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I remember after a long time driving past there, and I was like, where's the beach? Where's the beach? The beach and the road are practically like on the same level, right there. My parents almost fainted because we used to all go together, and like I said, in fact, the pleasure was we're going to the beach and walking down and all that. It's not going to stop. And it's this same area, let's say just down the road, that you have now evacuated and you're now building a city. And you think that water is not going to come back somewhere along the line? I think not. Personally, I think not.
Okay, right now, you can count the number of states that have been affected. You can count Anambra because of the River Niger. You can count Benue. You can count Niger State and part of Kaduna and
Cross River, Yobe State.
But over time, right now it seems as if we might have it under control. Do you see a situation where we might have a worse scenario playing out right now? Because we just spoke with the DG of the National Emergency Management Agency. They said they've been able to do their best to make sure that relief materials and other things get to the victims. But my question right now is, what do we have on our hands? Specifically when a lot of people are saying that they've been getting, we had warnings prior to this, but we never really did much until it happened.
Yes. It is a pity that we get all these warnings, and as usual, rather than reactive, rather than proactive, we're reactive. I feel that the governors of these states that we just mentioned and more play it down. They don't take it so seriously. I really do not know why. Because it seems that it's like every 4 years or thereabouts that we have these disasters. So by now, we should be alert, and we need to do something that's more sustainable than what it is we're doing. I just said, for example, you evacuate people. I know that Anambra State apparently did quite a bit, the last time, and I know that, for example, partly from Ogun State. Ogun State, for example, was disastrous. People lost, they lost their lives, they lost their homes because I have family there, and people had to leave their house and come and stay with my family because they had nowhere to stay. But again, some of us are not thinking. My sister who stays there said she literally saw, floods. And people believing that their cars were jeeps or they were powerful, driving into it. Of course, they were swallowed up, never to be seen again.
Wow.
Yes. So, as much as I keep saying government, we as human beings need to do something. We are seeing water, it's carrying things away, and you are saying that, oh, I have a big
call
and all that, and you go in with your family. Even if you didn't die, you're going to start trying to swim and get yourself. I mean, that alone. Why? Again, sentimental, because they're feeling, well, that's where I need to go there. It's like having a fire. If there's a fire, would you go back and pick things? You know, you shouldn't. People sometimes do, and they get caught up. You should actually leave. And if they're able to put out the fire, then you go back to get whatever it is, if there's anything. You know, I don't know if we are learning. Really don't know if we are learning. But like I said, the government has to do something, okay? I'm thinking now that, I know that I read that, can't remember where it was, that the government got the cooperation of the traditional rulers. And, you know, so they're able to talk with the residents, okay, and inhabitants of those villages that are flood prone, like you said, and tell them to move more into the hinterland. Okay, so they need cooperation of the traditional rulers. You need cooperation of the local government council, you know, officials, to get the residents to understand why they need to move. I also feel that in places, because I mean, we keep talking about this kind of places, but and they're talking about Lagos, for example. I know that in Jakonde Estate, so bad. Apparently, even just 4 weeks ago, you know, I mean, the water basically gets to the, you know, neck level. They practice swimming. I remember ages ago when my sister used to say in Dolphin, they brought canoes out. Can you imagine? Canoes to, you know, get people,
ferry people around.
Yes, ferry people around, you know. And people, you know, I thought they could say, that's my house, they will still do it, you know, and they will still stay there. Thank goodness, you know, the government has done quite a lot about that. So really, now, maybe the government, because it seems as if I'm talking about people. The residents, okay, the resident association, you know, especially in these estates, I talk about that. Then talk about Ilubin Estate as well. I don't know if you know Ilubin Estate.
Here in Lagos?
Yes. You know the one that's, when you're coming from, say, you're coming from Ikoyi, okay, and you're going to the mainland. You know, on your right, where it is, they built all those high-rises, where it is, yes, they've drained the sand as well. You know what I'm talking about? Apparently, there's no drainage right now. Now, the people on the other side are there. You know, there's construction going on now. But the other side, apparently, are suffering from that. So when it floods, the water goes into their houses. And apparently for almost a week, they can't come out. It doesn't go. So everybody needs to do something.
Okay.
We need to do something.
Seeing as we've been told that the earth is largely made up of water, yes. I mean, because that's some of the excuses people give for constructing on, like, you know, riverbanks and all. They'll sound feel and say, you know, it's full of water, and we have to actually, people are getting more than, you know, the regular amount of people, the population is increasing, so we just have to do this so people can have accommodation. What exactly will be the right thing for us to do? Because it seems like we just keep saying it, but nobody seems to be listening. It's just like this global warming issue and climate change. You know, there was time they said, okay, stop cutting down trees, let the trees. But you just wake up one morning and someone has chopped down a tree. Then they started a project of building trees, and you wake up one day and then all of that is gone, and everyone acts like there really isn't a big deal. And we feel like, oh, we're God's nation, we're blessed, we're not going to have to face what the other people are facing and all of that. Do you think with this issue, with this rate of climate change, maybe we would face all of these things that are happening? Because you say it moves, it's in stages. Who knows, maybe 200 years from now, tsunamis and hurricanes will start coming. I'm hoping, you know, I'm hoping things like, so what can we do to mitigate some of these things? I mean, other countries, other developed countries work hard. They know, okay, we're predicting that this is coming, so everybody get your stuff ready. We're going to take care of it. And when it comes, they have ways to, you know, be proactive and deal with all those situations. Fortunately, we don't have that here. It just happens, and then we start saying we're giving relief materials, and then you think of the relief materials that are being given, and it really isn't. So what can we do to mitigate some of these situations?
Okay, we start now. Okay. That's just it. We start now. I mean, I'm happy that we're talking about it. Okay, and on my way, I actually heard some, radio station talking about it as well. So I'm quite happy about that, that people are talking about it now that it's happening. But we shouldn't wait for it to happen again before we do something. So everybody, like I said, we are all stakeholders. So we start with the government, okay? Massive campaign against people building houses in flood-prone zone. Massive campaign. They just need to earmark money. Because if you earmark money to stop disasters, then you won't have to spend the money that you're spending, when the disasters happen. Okay, so massive campaign, and like I said, get the traditional rulers and local government chairpersons involved, and hoping that there's no money exchanging and all of that allows people to build where they shouldn't. So start, first of all, so you're not blocking any drainage. You're not blocking where the water is supposed to be flowing. Okay, so we start with that. Then, like I said, the residents themselves, okay, most associations, they have chairpersons and all that. When they have their meetings, it's something they need to talk about, okay, especially in all the spaces I'm talking about. In fact, there's almost nowhere. Of course, some areas are worse than other, like the Jakonde area,
True.
Like I said, okay. I live in Surulere and we don't have that problem. But it has happened, that 2012 you're talking about, where I was staying before in Surulere, where, you come out of the house and it's all water. And, to come out, the water was needy.
Yeah.
There are places, like I said, that it's
Negative.
So you need to constantly be told about looking and caring for the environment, because there's going to be repercussions, and consequences of littering and blocking drainages. I don't know, there's, this debate about whether the environmental sanitation days, being stopped is good or bad. I know that a lot of people, where they say people used to just play around and, just play football, but some people actually took it seriously.
Yes, some people did.
Every single Saturday.
People come out and clear out the gutters and all of that.
So if they decide that they don't want to make it,
compulsory,
compulsory, they need to encourage people, clear your drains, and then provide bins, because you can't tell me don't throw rubbish in the gutters and there's nothing for me to throw it in. So that means all those agencies, LOMA needs to. Unfortunately, I'm going to go to government and people, back and forth. People, because when I ask the people in LOMA why they don't clear certain, areas, said that people don't pay. They don't want to pay. I'll give you an example. In Makoko, we all know, how Makoko is. My PA used to work there. Once it rains, I know he's not coming to work. He's not coming to work. He's not going to come to work for the next few days. Because when he gets it, the water is literally, in fact, his bed is inside water. Because they stayed particularly, by the river. It just gets into his house. So the next few days,
you're probably just packing water.
And all that. Now that's not a way to live. Mentally, emotionally, of course, by the time it's time for him to come back to work, he's drained, so it's not productive. Okay, so those kind of people need to move away. And the amount of garbage in those areas, when I went there, I couldn't believe it. That was when I asked. It's like some areas, as far as government concerned, they're not going to cover. Why? They're not paying. Why are they not paying? They say they don't earn enough. Now some of them are probably genuine, but some of them, just as far as they're concerned, government should do everything. And government needs to again educate these people as to why. Like, it's not just like, okay, you're giving me money. The benefit to you if I clear up your garbage. Do you understand? So government, they need to let people know why they need to be stakeholders. They're stakeholders, but they don't know why. They don't know why. We, because we're enlightened, assume that they know. Because I believe that if you know certain things, you just won't do it. As far as they're concerned, when it, you ask somebody what a gutter is for. You can't believe how they're concerned. It's for throwing rubbish. They don't know that it's for water to flow. They don't know. In 2018, they don't know. Nobody has ever told them. So each person each agency, each individual, each government, each state, each traditional ruler, each local government chairperson and their officials need to sit down and decide what it is that they can do and then work together. It's not something we can do on our own. Because I can't be putting all my rubbish in a bin and then Norma doesn't pick it up. It won't work. And Norma can provide bins and I don't put it, my rubbish in there and I put it, in the gutter and said it won't work. Do you understand? So everybody needs to. Everybody. And the governors of the state need to take this serious. You can't be playing it down and be doing fire brigade approach to this every time that there's a disaster, because there is a disaster.
All right. I also want to talk about the effects of plastic, because I think that's like the biggest issue we have. We use so much plastic bottles, plastic rubbers, and plastics don't disintegrate unlike paper. So you find out that when you're on the road, you see like so much plastic bottles, and they don't just go anywhere, they're just there. They don't melt, they don't just get reabsorbed into the soil, nothing. You just go to a particular area, and then we really need to, this is an issue we really need to talk about, because it's becoming so alarming. People don't recycle. We don't recycle at all in this place, in this part of Nigeria. I think in this part of Nigeria, we don't recycle. In this part of the world, people hardly ever say, "Oh, let me recycle," and all of that. So that's one thing I also want you to talk about.
Okay, so it's not like nobody does.
Just a couple of people. I mean, if we're 1 billion, maybe 50,000 recycle.
You're right. So again, this is the time that government needs to come in. I say the government because they're in charge. That's what we put them there for. There's some things that you probably think it's not possible, but it is. I interact with other environmental groups in other West African countries, Ghana and Senegal, for example. And just a group of people were able to persuade them in Senegal to ban plastics. So it's not something that's so
impossible.
It's not. They had to do a lot of work, marching, going to the government, and all that, writing petitions, and all that, and it was done. So that's one. The other thing is that we could mandate stores, because where do you get this? Let's just talk about plastic bags, because there's plastic bag, there's plastic cup, there's so many, plastic. Let's talk about plastic bags, which are two things. Plastic bags, pure water, it's actually the most common. Okay, so the plastic bags, what have they done in other countries? They say if you want to get a plastic bag, you pay for it. I know Nigerians don't like paying for anything. If they can avoid it.
Yes.
If they can get anything for free, they will take it. So you mandate the shop owners, and I mean everybody. When I talk about shop owners, even up to the malams that are selling their tom-tom or whatever it is, and everybody that gives out
goods,
plastic bags, should insist that they are paid for. No more freebies. When I go out and buy, I always ensure that I have a bag that is non-plastic. You've taken it from me now, but I have a bag that's cloth. I carry a cloth bag, okay, to put my things in. So a lot of places that I buy, well, they already know that I'm not going to accept the plastic bag from them, because I have more than enough. But even when I do, I use it again. I reuse. Okay, so we need to teach people to reuse. Okay, so because some people might say, oh, I don't have cloth bags and all of that. Okay, so the one that you have, use it again. So when I go out, apart from carrying my cloth bag, I also carry plastic bags. Because sometimes, there are little things that you actually want to wrap. You don't want to throw them directly in your cloth bag. So I wrap them up in the one I collected before, and then I put in my cloth bag. So it's to do with education. So we educate people. Because the less it is that we're using, the less there is in the environment. It's going to take a long time for us to stop it totally, and that's just the fact. Everywhere in the world, it's taking them so long. So we need to stop it from the people who are actually giving it. And then the people who manufacture it as well. we need to find something else for them to
manufacture.
Because you can't just take
away their means of livelihood.
Yes, because a lot of those places, you know, they're made in factories where they employ thousands and thousands of people. You can't just lay people off because of that. So you need to find something else. There's, for example, I know of a country where they use pineapple to make bags that are biodegradable, you know, and we have so many resources here. All we need to do is be empowered to think, what can we do? You know, what can we use to make all these bags and even cups instead, you know, of using
plastic.
All right, that's as much as we can take on the environment. Specifically, we're looking at the devastating effect of flooding in Nigeria. What with the flood issues that we had not so long ago this month across several communities and several states in Nigeria. And of course, there's been a call to everyone because it is a collective responsibility. Many thanks to the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency who joined us from Abuja, Mustafa Mehaja, and of course our guest here in Lagos,
Shola Alamutu. Did I get it right?
Alamutu.
Thank you so much for joining us. Right, that's our package for today. We'll return again tomorrow where we'll be looking at something very interesting. We'll be looking at health on the show tomorrow. My name is Justin Akadonia.
And I'm Stephanie Ojadi. Do have a lovely day.